to my favorite show that's out right now. I'm a huge fan of all three of y'all. I knew Joey for a while, at least over 10 years, I would say, just from the whole music scene and rapper.
You know all the stories, it sounds like. Over 10 years? That's awesome.
Over 10 years. It hasn't been like, we ain't been like joined by the hip, but you know what I mean? Just within the same industry, being on set together and him just being a real cool stand-up guy. And I appreciate him linking this up, so shout out to Joey, because I wanted you on the show and he made it happen for me. Talk to me about Everyday Struggle and how this journey has been for you so far.
Yeah, what a ride it's been. So Joe, I guess I've met Joe over the years, right? Working at MTV, because we've done Slaughterhouse interviews, but never knew each other. So I guess I really met him for the first time last summer. The day of the VMAs in 2016, we went skydiving. He was dropping his yeah,
what?
I know, right? Very random.
Complex as you go through the ringer, child.
Yeah, so everything from election coverage
been nonstop
to
with you
out of
and
planes.
Complex.
Yeah, it's really been a journey, man. Sometimes I think I'm making this stuff up.
The word and the way you just like explaining it is just so nonchalant. So yeah, I got there and then, was on a plane. I was here and there every day covering this. And then we went skydiving. And then
I do like doing crazy things like skydiving. I love adventures. You notice they make fun of me on the show. If I ever am in nature or do anything fun, they clown me. But look, it's fun. I love adventures. But so yeah, he was releasing his last album and he wanted to do something a little different for promo. So they suggested this. I was like, yeah, why not? Cool. So we woke up super early, went to Jersey at like 5, 6 a.m., picked him up. And so me and our head of production for Complex News spent the entire day with Joe. What a trip. You know what I mean? Like,
how was that?
He's such a character. It was the first time getting to know him. He was like super sick. So he's waking up, he's pissed at his manager that it's this early, but he was really great. We had
What year was this?
This was last year.
This was just last year?
Last August. This video is on YouTube. You have to check it out later.
Oh my God, I didn't see this
This
one.
is very, very recent.
So this is before Everyday Struggle?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So this is how we first started talking, but we joke about it a lot of time. A lot of that day he spent just telling me how much he hated Complex. Some artists don't like the brand. Sometimes they see articles that offend them. That happens, but sometimes they make up. It comes and goes. And so he was airing out all of his issues with Complex and lumping it with the whole company. I'm like, look, I understand you have some issues, but there are cool people at Complex, even if you've seen articles in the past that you didn't like. So I think after that whole day with me and my production manager, he sort of warmed up to the brand a little bit more.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we just sort of kept in touch. If he was ever in the neighborhood for meetings or something, he would come up and like say hi really quickly. And then I think conversations for Everyday Struggle started early 2017. Right? So we launched in April. Yeah, so it started earlier in the year and I wasn't initially involved. I don't know why I can't speak tonight. I'm sorry. I took a nap and I'm still struggling with my words. Yeah, I was not involved in the initial round of meetings. Noah was actually going to be the moderator. And I was only really confirmed to be on the show the Thursday before it launched the next Monday.
Noah was your boss.
Yeah.
That gave you the job.
Yeah. So we both auditioned for the role of moderator. But again, I
told
told
you were auditioning too, if he was the one.
The head of our video department. Since Noah was really the head of like editorial content.
Got it.
I know that's like a little bit confusing, but it's basically
interesting backstory though.
Maybe audition's not the word. We both tested.
The guy that hired you, you were up against him to be the moderator. Okay.
I mean,
how did that go? I mean, clearly you got the job, but how did that go between you and Noah? It's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine. We didn't talk too much about it, not necessarily. I think he started doing the screen test first, and I probably started about a week before the show launch. So it was fine. I think eventually it worked itself out. But I don't know. But yeah, it was very last minute just because things move super fast at Complex. So I think maybe other people would have been like, all right, it's time to go out and fix my hair and buy a whole new wardrobe, etc. I was like, all right, it's Thursday and I'm on Monday. I guess we're
it was that
we're
fast
hit
for
the
you?
button. Yeah.
Wow.
It was like that last minute that I was confirmed to be on the show. If you look at the original article that was published on complex.com, it still says that Noah is the moderator, I believe. And so there was a point where we discussed even rotating the role of moderator. Like maybe I would do a couple episodes, he would do a couple. But yeah, in retrospect, that probably would have been really difficult to pull off.
Yeah.
And then, found out I was going to be on it. So then one day I woke up, I got on the train at 5 a.m. and that's how the story began.
But it was basically right away, like overnight. Like you weren't involved in the creative process of how Everyday Struggle came about.
Yeah, because at first I was just not ever a part of the plan, you know?
But did you hear about the plans?
Oh, yeah, I heard. I knew it was coming. And because I knew Joe and we were like, cool, he was keeping me in the loop. Like before, I believe he came up for one of the very first meetings, or after his meeting, we went across the street and like had some food and he was like explaining what's going on. Because at that point, he was still focused on finding the next host. Like academics also wasn't in the picture yet. So I guess I was part of the conversations there. Yeah, no. And so at that point, Joe was like, no one had met academics yet. You know, we'd seen he had such a big YouTube presence. We know his voice, but we had never seen him in real life. So I remember eating French fries and us being like, man, what is academics going to be like? So that was like the first time we really started talking about it. But yeah, at that point, I still was not the moderator at all.
Now, prior to you meeting with Joe, the people over at Complex already expressed about doing an Everyday Struggle with Joe. Was Joe always the main component when it came to this show? They knew they wanted him? Like, was this show created for Joe Budden?
Yeah, so that's something, honestly, you would really have to ask Joe, since I was in there for the very initial conversations. I know Elliot Wilson was involved in like initial talks, and then
he did.
It came to Complex and like Noah, and then, you know what I mean? So I'm not exactly sure where it started, so I wouldn't want to give any
false information.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to be that one here. I'm going to leave that to Joe. He's great at that. He delivers it with such charisma that it works, even if it's not true.
Even if it's not true.
So stick with it, man.
What has been an everyday struggle for you on Everyday Struggle?
Every single part of it has been an everyday struggle. From the morning commute, boy, I am not a morning person. I get all my best work done when the rest of the world is sleeping.
Me too.
So having to wake up at 5 a.m., like what are we, 8 months in? I'm like used to it. My body's now on this cycle, but I still hate it. It's hard for me to have a social life now. I am exhausted by like 5 o'clock. So yeah, getting there that early. Also doing hair and makeup myself. I'm a pretty low maintenance person. I'm like very chill. You notice Joe makes fun of me like, you never wear girl clothes. You never this and that. I'm like very relaxed.
You never wear girl clothes.
Whatever that means.
I know what you mean, but clearly you wear woman clothing.
Not womanly enough for, you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's so hilarious.
So yeah, that getting there in the morning, the whole hair and makeup process, like doing hair and makeup for on camera. There's some days where I just can't. People hit me like, oh my God, can someone help this girl? Her left eyebrow today is all. I'm just like, you know what? You're right. You're right. I was really tired this morning. I had my coffee. It didn't work while I was doing my makeup today. So
you prefer to do it yourself, or you guys don't have a glam squad there? I
definitely do not prefer. What? No way. I hate.
You guys don't have hair and makeup there?
No. This is one of those things, man. People make all of those assumptions. We are such like complex. And part of what makes it great sometimes is it sort of feels like a startup. Like we've been doing video for a few years right now, but we're not like at a Viacom level. You know what I mean? Yeah. Still very much like feeling our way through. So I don't know what people think is glamorous about my job, like, but it's not. It literally is me getting up at 5 a.m., getting to the office at 6, and I spend 30 minutes in the women's bathroom doing hair and makeup in dim lighting, just so when I come out, Joe can be like, Nadeska's always late. No, Nadeska was here. She just has to like fix her hair and face. I'm sorry, women have to do that. So
it takes time, darling.
Yeah, and then after that, we'll usually have our little pre-production meetings. But again, what does that mean with like a Joe Budden? It depends on the morning. You know what I mean? Sometimes we'll actually like talk about it, or sometimes Joe will just be like, I don't care about any of this. I'll figure out when it's on set. So like, every day it's just like you never know with these two guys. They have huge personalities both on and off camera.
Mm-hmm. Now, being a fellow woman in media, when I watch it in the beginning, I was telling Joe this on Woman in Hip Hop Podcast when he was a guest. I was like, I like Nadeska, but I want her to talk more. And I don't know if you read the comments, but do you read the comments? That's a whole nother story, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get to those.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And it's funny, but as I continue to watch the show, I felt like you've become more verbal. Were you, I guess, cognizant of that? Did you feel like you didn't have a voice so much on that show? Yeah. And pretty much explain what it all entailed for you to be a moderator. What did they tell you? They pretty much just want you to moderate and not give much input?
Right. To be honest, there wasn't like a ton of instruction at first. And then as soon as the show started, especially people in the building will give me tidbits. So you should talk more. You could shut them down sometimes. You could do this or that. But Yeah, there was no very clear instruction, and it was just really difficult. I think...
Explain how.
I saw a lot of those comments. People have been like, this girl's an idiot. Where did she come from? Why she's here sitting around just not talking? And I understand all those.
No, I never felt like
I get a lot of that. A lot of people still, to this day, I had someone hit me up 3 weeks ago, and it always confuses me when people do this. Basically, he was saying like, look, I'm so proud of you. You're on this show, but man, the hate is real out here. I'm like, what does that mean? He was like, yeah, all my friends just think you have no idea what you're talking about. They think you know nothing about hip hop. But like, I've literally put in like 9 or 10 years. So like, I know what I'm doing. I've met more of these artists and interviewed them than Joe has. You know what I mean? That's why I can give him feedback when we're picking. But I'm in a space where I'm sitting. I'm used to, again, doing interviews. I like to listen to people, learn about them. I'm sitting between two very loud theatrical men. Joe is a performer. He went through Love and Hip Hop. Ak has this YouTube channel where it's just him getting drunk in his basement, screaming into the screen, and his fans love it and whatever. And like, it's just not me. So of course, adjusting to that on camera is hard. There are points where I'll try to talk and they'll scream over me. You think it's easy to outscream Joe Budden? Like, serious question.
Hell no.
Okay, so
I could probably give him some
I can't even
competition.
Get close. I can't even get close. So trying to scream over both of them, just fighting to get a chance to speak, of course, it's very frustrating, but it has gotten better as we've gotten used to each other. And again, that's one of the hard parts. Like, it's like having 2 new coworkers and developing chemistry and getting to know each other with the whole world watching and picking you apart. Every single thing. It could be a Monday where we're just tired. Like sometimes you just have those days where you're a little sluggish. Oh boy, the storylines. Oh man, Nadeska must have really done something to piss Joe off today because this, you know what I mean? Like it definitely, it's like a lot. People picking you apart.
It's unfolding in front of us.
Yeah.
Like as we're watching it, you guys are learning each other.
Exactly. And so
we don't know that.
Right. Imagine what it feels like to be the person who is like, yeah, you're getting to know these people. You're doing a job you've never done before and moderating these 2 difficult personalities. And I love those guys, but like, it's not easy sometimes. And plus the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, like people seem to think that the hour that you watch the show is all of it. No, like there's stuff before and after, like the whole Migos thing that happened. I knew it was like super fun for everyone to watch, but you wouldn't believe the bullshit that went on behind the scenes and how stressful that was. So it's been a very like, it's been great. It's been great to grow with them. They're like family now, but it's been a very, very difficult year. It's been like ups and downs. And this year I learned how much people love to hate other people.
Yeah.
Like I sit between these 2 guys and there's some people who hate me so passionately that they'll make multiple accounts to like say awful shit to me all day. And if eventually I block them, they'll get pissed and make more. I'm like, really? What is it that I'm doing that's so deeply offensive to you? It's very interesting. I've learned a lot this year.
And what was your answer to yourself when you asked yourself that? I could give you an answer real quick.
Yeah. I mean, I always try to...
They wish they were fucking you. Like, they wish they were you. They wish they was in that position. Because, again, like I said, it's literally my favorite show to watch on the internet. And I think when people see you, they wish they can fulfill those shoes instead of just appreciating what you bring to the table. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's just such,
maybe it's that because it's such a popular show.
Yeah, it's a hard concept for me to understand because I just can't imagine, especially like the most hurtful hate that I've gotten is from other Black women. And that is wounding because I think for me, any Black woman that I see excelling in any space, one, I'm super proud of her because I know what she must have gone through to get there. If you think there's any Black woman in any position of any sort of power or prominence, and it hasn't been hell for her behind the scenes, then you're tripping. So one, just proud of her. And 2, that's a win for all of us. You know what I mean? When I see Issa Rae, she has an HBO production deal. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is where we're going. Like, this is I could write a TV show one day because she's helping to open these doors. So yeah, man, it's like the most hurtful hate I've gotten is from other Black women, but I've also developed tougher skin. And that's something Joe has told me all year. You just have to be tougher. You know what I mean? Even if people hate you, at least you're getting them talking. So that's something I have very much I have to get used to, especially from some of the fans. People have told me horrible things. Like after the Vic Mensa interview, there are people, academics fans, who told me that they hope my mom died in her sleep.
Oh, what would
don't take me there.
Oh, no.
You say that to a person. So there are days when like I'll just disappear from the internet and people are like, you need to post more, you got to tweet more, you got to Instagram. But like there are some
You're human
points in the show where like the negativity is so much. So I'm just like, meh, I'd rather just not be on the internet. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take a few days off, come back feeling rested and ready to deal with this shit again.
Yeah. Now, when you say the hate, surprisingly, after a while, it's not so surprising that it comes from other Black women. Did it come from women that you knew?
No.
It always came from like
and
comments.
This is not me saying all Black women, and I don't want to say that because there are a lot of people who show me love and a lot of Black women and people that I run into them all the time and they say how proud they are and they ask for advice. So by no means am I saying that they're the majority. I'm just saying that's the portion that hurt me the most. Because,
and it comes would you say mostly it comes from that?
At this point, I feel like it's just a lot of kids on the internet, like young fans, like academics fans, that like very young audience.
The trollers, we like to call
I get it the
them.
most from them now. So I'm definitely not trying to say that the majority of people.
I didn't take it that way, and I don't think anyone listening is taking it that way. And if you're listening right now and you're a fan of the podcast, I've made a point to say that it's called Women in Hip Hop, and the hardest thing for me to get is women on Women in Hip Hop podcasts, for the same reasons that you're expressing right now. And I said that to Joe, and he said, I was just having this conversation with my moderator, Nadeska. And then we started talking about you. And I saw him recently mention that on the show. I don't know who was the guest, but he did say, women will shade each other under the guidelines of women empowerment.
Absolutely.
And literally, I've been experiencing that in the flesh. That's why I asked you. Doesn't mean you knew the person, but you experienced it firsthand in person. Mm-hmm. Fuck the comments on YouTube. Forget all of that. But I've actually dealt with women from all races. But it does hurt when it comes from your own kind. Mm-hmm. And you know that they kind of built this empire under those guidelines and that concept of women empowerment, and then you want to connect and you want to build and you want to, cross promote whatever it is, and it's like, and it's like, whoa,
exactly.
Like, I thought that you was about that life, sister. What happened?
And most of the women in the industry have absolutely shown me a lot of love, and people like you, and I appreciate it. We haven't even met, but I appreciate
our first
the
time,
support.
just to be clear.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just it's very strange and confusing. And the worst part is those people, like you said, who hide under the guise of women empowerment. They're on Twitter and Instagram talking about it and then realizing that they're fake. But in that situation, you can't do anything about it, right? Because then you're not going to tell the world, hey, this person is preaching this, but actually they're really not like that.
I think we should start calling motherfuckers out.
I feel like calling people out doesn't even, I feel like you just have to that's a lot of it. It's just like dealing with all this like hurt and negative energy, not letting it consume you and figuring out a way to make it productive. Like, what's the lesson I learned from this? How am I going to shake this off and keep it moving without taking it personal? Because that shit will eat you alive. Like, there are so many days, like, again, when people ask for like advice, one of the things I tell them, a lot of it is just going to depend on how headstrong you are and how persistent you are. There are so many days that I want to quit, days that I feel defeated. There's been weeks we filmed this show where I feel like depressed. I'm like dreading coming to work because of what's going on behind the scenes. Like, it's really difficult. So
behind the scenes at work?
Yeah, I mean, with the show, look, again, it's 3 people just put together, trying to learn each other. Shit's going to happen. It's like a family. You're going to fight. You're going to make up. Sometimes you can see it sort of playing out on the show. And then the next day we're back and we're having fun. Like, it really is like a family. You have your ups and downs. But yeah, with the whole world watching and picking you apart while you're also trying to deal with that, it has been like a very trying year, Yeah. Like, I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot, but it hasn't been easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I commend you though, because you are more so in the front line of it all, and that's where the trollers have the opportunity to kind of really tear you apart when you're really just trying to do your job and do it your way.
Right. That's
what I got when I watch you, because like I said, when I interviewed Joe, I was like, I want to talk more, but then after watching, I was like, you know what? I get this. And then I'm starting to get the concept of the show. And now after interviewing you right now, I'm hearing that you guys are learning each other as it's happening in front of us. It's almost like reality TV.
It really is. Like, honestly, if we
real reality TV.
If we had a camera behind the scenes, like, it might be even more interesting than the show. Like, you wouldn't believe.
Hey, that's a concept. You might want to get on that.
Right? Hook up the GoPro. But yeah, I'm just really trying to do my best and grow. And like, I hope it gets better and better. But like, yeah, you have to understand, for some people, it's just a sport tearing you down. And there's definitely a sector of teenage boys on the internet who just hate women. Yeah. You just can't do anything right. So you just have to know that that's how that goes.
Yeah. Now, what are your real thoughts on academics and Joe Budden? Just your real thoughts. Like, just explain how you really feel about them two.
Yo, those are my guys. They're just so opposite. It's crazy. Like, the dynamic.
Are they so opposite?
They're so opposite.
I see that watching that, but you're literally in the middle.
The dynamic is just like really unbelievable.
This is your time to shine because you, my dear, do not get to talk as much.
I know.
And I was so adamant about having you up here because I was like, I just want her to have a voice. I want her to have a platform to tell her story and just, have fun. It's not going to be, a situation where I'm like, spill all the tea. Yeah. I really just want I want the listeners and the viewers to get to know you because those two are so dynamic and so out in the forefront on that show.
Right.
So
what I think about academics? Ak is a character. It's just so interesting. It was very interesting meeting him for the first time.
People hate him, by the way.
But I think people hate Joe. Some people really hate me.
They hate each other for different reasons. People hate them too for different reasons. But true. We'll get on that. That's why I really just want to hear your assessment of the two.
Yeah. The very interesting thing about academics is look, he has this extremely loyal fan base. Man, you do not want to piss them off. They have come for me.
He has a beehive?
Yes.
Yes. Academics.
Boy, they don't play, man. Trust, if they see an episode and they don't like, after the Vic Mensa episode, they were on my neck for weeks. The interesting thing about him is although he has this huge fan base and he's been doing his own media for so long, he is so green to the industry. And Joe, of course, has been in the industry for decades. Yeah. I've been doing this for a while, so I know a lot of people behind the scenes. Ak knows none of this. So his perspective on a lot of things really come from such a fan perspective sometimes, which is confusing.
A fan perspective.
Yeah. Okay. AKA they don't have all the information.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're looking at it purely as a fan, but he also has this big following. It's just like a very strange dynamic. So him being out in the world, adapting to even corporate environment. He's very perceptive. He likes to watch and like see what's going on and like understand things. So watching both of them adapt to corporate life is pretty hilarious, to be completely honest with you. They're just not used to it. They don't understand the concept of me being staff. Like, all right, guys, Joe, you're going to leave. You're going to go back to the pool. I still have to be here. I have meetings. I have other shit to do all day.
Shout out to the pool.
You know what I mean? Like, but watching Ak get acclimated to the industry and like become more confident and grow into himself. Because I'm sure, like, again, he has his diehard fans, the people who don't love him. But, like, no matter what happens on the show, I really respect that he's never too rattled. No matter what happens, he's going to come on and be a professional and he's going to do his job. And I really respect him for that. So it's amazing. Really but it really feels like watching a child grow in some ways.
I was going to say that, too. That's a good analogy.
It really does.
I see that. What about Joey?
Joe. Joe's one of the most dynamic humans I've ever met in my life. Can we say that?
Okay.
And he really feels like a big brother, and we fight like brother and sister sometimes. Okay. We absolutely do. And like, I love him and we have a lot of fun together, but there are days when he's just like being a little manic, or he's being obsessive, or he doesn't like how something went, or like, you know, like after the Migos interview, we got yelled at in the car on the way back to the hotel. You know, why would you guys want to do this? You fucking groupies, complex.
Oh, he was yelling at you guys?
Yeah, of course. So like, we get that, you know what I mean? So there's like a lot of jokes and fun. Sometimes we're getting yelled at. We're all fighting with each other. Like, I'm telling you, like, no day is the same. Like, you never know what you're walking into behind the scenes. But like, they're great. Joe's like a great person. He gives me some good advice, although some of it definitely is from, I'm like, Joe, I don't have retired rapper money. I can't do what you're telling me to do right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck all these rules and laws and complex. Just do what you want. Doesn't work like that, Joe. I'm sorry.
This is actually corporate world. You're more on the creative side.
Exactly. I have to balance these a little bit, you know, until I'm free one day.
If we can, let's talk about the Migos. I was going to wait to talk about that, but I do want you to elaborate on that because I have a segment on here with you that I was going to say my favorite episodes on Everyday Struggle. So, of course, the infamous Migos versus, I won't even say Everyday Struggle. It was Migos versus Joey. Like, right?
It really was.
Poor Nadeska.
I mean,
I saw you jump in the middle.
Yo.
And I'm totally reactive in that same way. I would have done that and then later got cussed out for doing it.
I got cussed
why
out.
As a woman are you jumping? It's just, I think it was a natural reaction.
It's totally an instinct to protect. And a lot of guys hit me after that, especially guys in the industry. Don't you ever jump between two dudes about to get into fights. Step out of the way. Let Joe, let Ak, whoever it is, catch the fade. Like, we don't need you in the middle. But yeah, it's completely instinctual. You know what I mean? Like, again, whatever we go through, that's like my family. I'm a very, very loyal person. So no matter what we go through, like, if you're ever in trouble, my first instinct is to protect. I'll never do that again. I learned my lesson, but I was terrified. I was like, if someone hits someone, it's over. We're those kids that you invited to the party. You came with all your hood rat friends and created chaos. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want a full-on brawl on the BET carpet. I didn't want anyone getting hurt. So yeah, it was totally stupid of me to jump in the way. I wouldn't do that again. But like, in the moment, I just couldn't help it.
Okay. Give us a little backstory as to really went down at the BET Awards. Did you see it coming?
No,
was there a conversation?
Honestly, I didn't see it or understand it until we got back to the hotel and watched the footage. I was still confused. So, you guys remember I was so couldn't hear anything. So you guys remember the Lil Yachty episode of Everyday Struggle?
Yes.
Joe yells at him about not knowing his financial label situation, whatever. And that's kind of where the tension started because him and Migos are both on the same label. Okay. So I think it just sort of carried on from there, and it was like bubbling. And earlier in the day, Joe said he went out to get dress socks or something like that and ran into one of the guys from QC. So there was just a little bit of backstory. And I guess when Migos sat down, maybe he tried to dap them. They didn't really react. And so he was immediately just like,
he tried to dap them.
I think so. And he said there was no response. So he was just sort of like...
It was on some fuck out of here.
So you saw him with his bitchy Auntie Joe face on immediately, just looking at them the whole time. And so he was sitting the closest. Academics and I could not hear a thing. It's super loud on red carpets. Like, it's hard to hear.
It is.
Migos never speak up. They're always sort of whispering to begin with.
Okay.
So like... I was confused why Joe dropped the mic because I was only partially hearing the conversations and then I was just very confused about everything. So yeah, not till we watched the footage back did I realize that when Ak said, you know, you're one of my favorite groups, that it really sent Joe off the deep edge. He dropped it. Like, it was just, I literally couldn't hear. And I know a lot of people thought we were trolling or Ak was trolling. I swear we just couldn't hear anything they were saying.
Yeah, because the memes were crazy. Well, I did see somewhere where Joe explained that he ran into one of the guys from their team and he was like chill on the Little Yachty. Mm-hmm. And he did try to dap one of the members and he was giving him no love. Yeah. And then y'all kind of just go into the whole interview process after that? And then it just, what we saw unfolded? Was it a lot of editing involved? Was a lot of things cut out? Or was it?
Yeah, no, I think like the guy saw earlier made a comment to him as well. And then, the Migos wouldn't dap him up. So the vibe was already weird, but I hadn't even seen that they wouldn't really dap him. So I missed that completely. Yeah, no, because the carpet's just hectic and we were like switching guests pretty rapidly. Mm-hmm. But Ak, again, a fan. He's never met any of these guys. He's covered them for so long, but this is his first time out in the world. He's like staring at all the beautiful women walking on the carpet and seeing all these rappers for the first time. So he was just genuinely excited. So the energy was opposite. Joe's like, I'm already over these dudes. Ak is super excited. And I'm in the middle, like, I've had many awkward Migos interviews. So it's just like, whatever at this point, you know?
Already with Complex, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. We had a weird one at Complex Con. I've had several, like, encounters with them. I know at MTV, I interviewed them years ago, like when Versace, I think, had first come out. Yes. So it's been a while. So, I don't know. That just really went left really quick. It happened very fast. And not until we got back to the hotel room and watched the footage did I fully understand. Like, I had heard nothing that Takeoff was saying to Act that entire time. Mm. So none of that was scripted, I promise you. Just
Did anybody get hurt?
No.
No one got touched?
Thank God. And that's why I'm happy that I did jump in there.
You was like, security? Where's our security?
No, we got a security guard just for this because the guys were worried about it. And we've at Complex, like, usually it's like me covering the carpet with other anchors. We're not worrying about beefing with anyone. We don't need security. So that was a first for the brand as well. And we get the security guard. And then shit goes down. Where is he? Like, where is he? I think he was trying to take pictures with amigos, do all sorts of weird shit. I'm like, why am I getting in between this fight before you? So I know I sound stupid at the end screaming for security, but I was genuinely like,
no, you did not. You was the smart one.
We're paying you for
outside of jumping in the middle, which I'm like would have done the same thing. But you know, natural instincts. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Wrong or right doesn't matter.
Next time we'll have better security. Although my boss after that was like, all right, kids, no more field trips. You guys are not.
So you're never going to do red carpet again?
Look, I mean, I hope so, right? The Grammys are in New York next year, South by Southwest. It would be cool to go out and meet the fans, because going out and feeling people like really... That's when I finally realized how much people love the show. Because although there are people online who love and hate or whatever, in real life, the love is like overwhelming. No one in real life has ever said anything negative, because you know how that goes, right? But it would be amazing to take the show on the road and do stuff like that. But like, again, we're just those friends. I feel like those friends you can't take anywhere. We're just always
they don't know how to act.
Don't know how to act ever. You just can't take us.
Have you heard from their camp after that at all?
Well, yeah, on the way here tonight, I saw that they dropped that song where they're shitting on Joe, right? Should we play it? I heard I think it's like Quavo on the hook. Something, if it's a hater, you call that Joe Budden. We're definitely talking about that tomorrow. Joe's going to have a field day, I'm sure.
That just happened prior to you coming here for this interview?
Like tonight, it's out, yeah.
I've totally missed that.
So I don't think, they haven't, as far as I know, maybe behind the scenes, I don't know if Joe's talked to label people. I feel like Ak has. He hasn't spoken to the Migos at all.
Ak spoken to
I believe he might have spoken to their team. Sorry, I'm knocking things over. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but he's had no conversations like with the Migos. It would be nice to have them on next year to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of that. But, let's see if we can patch things up before then.
So what did they say in this record?
I literally just heard a snippet. I don't know if the whole song is out yet. If I could grab my phone, we could play it. But I hear Quavo just calling Joe Budden a hater on it.
It's a whole record. You know what? I'm going to implement it in the editing.
Put in like a snippet. Yeah. Yes, I'm excited to hear the rest of it.
Now let's talk about some of my favorite episodes on there. It's funny, I don't have those cards in front of me, but I have a good memory, I think. And I want you,
one of us.
One of us. I just want to get your input on it. So the Little Yachty obviously was another famous one.
Right.
What the hell was you thinking as that was going down?
Like, God, please don't let his fucking forehead explode. It looked like his veins were going to pop out of his head, like Joe when he was screaming. But again, that's why we have such opposite styles of dealing with people in interviews. I felt bad for Yachty, and I just wanted to jump in. Especially, there's some points I think we were debating and Yachty wasn't really talking. I don't like when guests come. I feel like I'm very old-fashioned in that way. I always want a guest to feel very welcome, So I wanted to make sure he got a chance to talk. And then when Joe started screaming, I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't even know how to help this kid, because that's the point where I could try to interject. It doesn't matter. Joe's just going to scream louder than I have. So in those situations, you just sort of have to let it unfold. But I'm glad that we've gotten past those situations. Our interviews, I think, are a lot better now than they were around the time of Yachty.
Because he was you guys' first guest. Was he?
He might have been the very first guest. Yeah, I feel like him and Wale were the early ones. Because at that point, they were being super selective with guests. Like, Joe didn't want a ton of people on. So yeah, what a way to start.
So I guess in hindsight, would you say you kind of, like you said, you felt bad for Lil Yachty? So in that particular argument, your team Yachty?
I don't know if I'm...
You're safe. I feel like academics would be like, no, I wasn't fucking with Joey on that, but he was wrong.
Yeah, no, the thing is, Joe was making a good point.
He was. He actually brought a lot out of Yachty.
Yeah.
And brought a lot of information out for the listeners and the viewers to kind of be like, oh, you know what? I know what a 360 is now.
Right.
Before they probably didn't.
That's what's so incredible.
I feel like he even educated Little Yachty. Right. Little Yachty didn't know what that was.
And I was
shocked
too. Yeah, because as like a music journalist, of course, we cover more of like the music and some of the like business stuff. But like, I am definitely learning a lot from him about labels, deals, and stuff. So like, his point was completely valid. Everything he was saying was accurate. Just like the delivery, because Yachty's such like his temperament is like this. So it's very chill, so subdued, very like easygoing. And Joe is just so extra. So like watching Yachty try to soak it all and like him telling Joe to chill.
That was hilarious.
I wanted to cry. I was like, that's the perfect response to him. He's freaking out and you're just sitting here staring at him like kind of confused. So now Joe's point was completely valid, but he could have maybe taken it a little easier on poor Yachty.
The delivery could have been a little better.
As always.
The Ashanti interview. Now, one line in particular, or the one question, the biggest discrepancy I would say out of that whole thing was her feeling like she didn't want money thrown on her because even though she's dressed in a bodysuit, which Joe was like, strippers wear bodysuit, and that was crazy to me because Joe was right, but I feel like Joe is great at what he does on that show because he knows how to spark an argument / debate. And that's really what that show is. It's the hip hop version of First Take. That's how I sum it up, which I love. And I'm like, Joe know damn well what she's trying to say.
Exactly. But he will just go till he gets you. But she wasn't backing down. I'll give it to her. And so, look, we don't
She's
have...
a Libra. So
yeah, we don't have... okay, so this is a Libra thing. We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of female guests up, man. And she came ready for both of them. I was like, I'm stepping out of the way.
I saw you a few times. You was like, get him a shot. Like, no, fuck, get him a shot.
I was like, it's nice to have some backup for once. Because you realize we can't talk about anything woman related on that show, man. It just devolves into such a hot mess so quickly.
You think so?
Yeah. And then someone's going to call me a queen feminist. And I just like, it's so condescending.
We don't need
like,
labels.
Exactly.
I just have an opinion.
Yeah. No.
I just know right from wrong.
Having conversations with them about anything women related is just like really a mess. That's been one of the most challenging parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you've probably, of course, feel obligated as a only woman on that show.
That I am going through, that I'm actively dealing with. But you're just being a queen feminist. What does a queen feminist be? I'm just a woman. How can I not advocate for other women, period? And for myself. You know what I mean? So the Shanti thing was funny. Like, of course, like, she had a point, but Joe was not going to let her off the hook for that.
But you totally... So who did you agree with in that particular debate? Because, again, only reason I'm asking, and it's not to cause a divide or anything like that, because much love to Joe. But I would hit him up and be like, you know you was fucking wrong for like trying to, or I'm like, why did you go harder on Amber Rose? Like you could have really delved in on the questions with, and I said it on the episode that he was on, with the whole slut walk. I felt like he was easy on her.
Did he say why?
Good question. Let me think. Did he say why he was
They're
a little
also
easy?
friends, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
I want to say maybe he said that, or I'm not sure because of 21 Savage was there. But I think he
Mr. Savage watching from the control room.
I think it might have been he was easy on her because they were friends. But I felt like it would have been more entertaining if he would have just been his Joey self.
Yeah.
You know, and really challenged her.
So Amber got lucky there.
I felt like she did. And I'm rooting for Amber. And I feel like her cause is greater than what is being projected as, because it's being camouflaged with like other things.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like, I totally get what she is trying to do or is doing. And it could be lost in translation because of other things are overshadowing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of wanted that to be talked about. And I was like rooting for Joe to kind of challenge that and push the conversation forward. And I didn't get that. However, he did do that with Ashanti. And I'm like, you could have went a little easy on that one because it wasn't that much of a...
That's the unpredictability of Joe, though, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, okay, this is clearly a conversation where we're here for jokes. I'm ready for the jokes. He puts on his serious Joe Budden voice, and this is nothing that we want to laugh about. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I honestly think, like, he just... Whatever you think is going to happen is probably going to be the opposite, and then the opposite of that, because you can't even guess what the opposite... If it makes sense.
Right.
Just no one ever try to predict what Joe Budden's going to do. That's what I have learned. You just really can't. You never know. There's like 10 different personalities in there.
Okay. So
Everyone
to be clear,
interesting.
Did you agree with the fact that men should throw money on her because she had on a bodysuit?
No.
Okay.
And so, but then watching the extended video with her doing the lap dances and all of that, but I'm like, she's a performer, right? Like, you know, it's Ashanti. You know, she's not a stripper. Why would you be throwing cash at her? But Wendy Williams seemed to agree with Joe.
Yes, and she's one of my favorite people. She's one of my friends in my head, but I disagree with what she said myself. Yeah. So, and that's what I feel the world needs, is just some dialogue to express your truth.
Yep.
That's why I'm glad you're here, because again, I feel like you don't get to really express your truth enough. So I kind of just want to get your opinion. Like, I worked with Wendy. I've been on the show. She's been on my show, one of my favorite episodes. But even with that, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of female performers
she's
who wear
talented.
bodysuits.
Yeah, I don't think she deserves that.
Don't get money thrown at them.
Can respectfully disagree for sure. Exactly. Okay, so we got that episode. Another one of my favorites. It wasn't really my favorite, but I do want to get to this with you because I feel like this had to be a challenging interview for you. The Russ interview. What the hell happened?
Yeah, it's a very good question. What the hell happened?
What happened with that guy, Russ?
So a few months earlier, he'd had this little thing with Pigeons and Planes, right? Mm-hmm. So they're one of our blog. I love the guys at Pigeons and Planes. Truly respect them. They're like some of the last people who are not just covering artists who are already on, but artists who are upcoming, that in 3 years, they might really be on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I guess they'd reach out to him for a feature, and then he basically snapped back like, look, I've been sending you guys all my music, etc., and you never wanted to like deal with me, and now I don't need you. Blogs are irrelevant. Pigeons and Planes, I thought they handled it super well. They're like, you're right, blogs are not as relevant as they once were. And so I think Russ didn't like the way I introduced the topic on Everyday Struggle. But to be honest with you, as soon as that episode was done, I forgot. I never thought about Russ again. His team had hit me a couple times asking to have him on the show, but again, it was very early in the show. The guys were super selective. At that point, I feel like we'd had Yachty, Wale, maybe one other person when they were pitching me. So I was like, look, I wrote in the email, which I also forgot, like, the guys aren't entertaining too many guests, but like
his
whatever.
People's emailed you
asking for him to come on the show. But I said no, and I was honest.
Real quick, not to cut you off, is that proper protocol?
Yeah.
You were the go-to person for guests to be on Everyday Struggle?
Yeah. So since, I've been working in the industry for a while, and especially at Complex, so I was already like booking interviews and confirming or whatever. So I knew a lot of like label people. So like his rep, I knew her from my days working at MTV when she used to work with like Lil Wayne and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And now I am like an executive producer on the show. So there's a lot I do behind the scenes, like booking talent, coordinating our schedule. Like there's a lot more to it than me just sitting in that chair and moderating that people don't know about. You know what I mean? So yeah, I am sometimes a messenger. I'm the one telling artists like, no, the guys don't want you now. Anyway, completely forgot about that. Fast forward months later, we're doing these Friday episodes, just me and academics, because Joe couldn't like figure out his situation with Complex to do them. So we have to rotate guest hosts. So they reached out again about Russ, and I was like, all right, we don't have a guest for this week. This actually makes sense. You could come on. I thought nothing of it. That email, none of that. So I feel like we're 40 minutes into the interview. I let you speak your piece. You told us how you write, produce, edit, do everything yourself. How you feel like you don't get enough love. And then he decides to call me a liar for an email I wrote months ago. People were like, oh, I feel like you should have turned up on him more. Well, first I was just stunned for a second, caught off guard. I was racking my brain trying to remember the email, and I couldn't. I'm like, you know how much has happened in my life since then? I don't know what I wrote, but I was like, if I'm remembering, because I don't lie to people, I would have said that we're not taking too many guests. So later, when we put up the episode, I went and put the email, and it was exactly what I remembered that I would have said. So
it was.
My issue with Russ is that do not come on a show and call me a liar. You know what I mean? Like, you really came to attack the moderator. And when I'm like, why would you do that? 40 minutes into the conversation, accuse me of lying about an email that I wrote 6 months ago. You know what I mean? You could have talked to me about that before the show. You could have talked to me about it after. You're here now. Why not take the opportunity to just talk about your music and reach a new fan base? So I was completely turned off of him. I wanted to wrap the show immediately, but I felt like I should be professional and like keep pushing through for a little bit longer. But just this whole idea of like, the chip on his shoulder he has attacking me because he doesn't like, I'm like, are you kidding? Who hasn't been through a lot to get where they are? You don't think a lot of people have tried to hold me back, have tried to sabotage me, have not shown me any love, did not care about me until I was on this show? Why are you so entitled to come here and call me a liar, you know? So the cameras are up. I'm like, cool, show's over. Let's get out of here. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. Go back to my office. And then he comes over. He wants to talk. He wants to give me a hug. I'm like, why are we hugging right now? I don't want to hug it out. And later his publicist asked me for my number, like, oh, he wanted your number to talk about it. And I didn't want to talk about it at that point because you're not going to come on a show that, hundreds of thousands of people watch, accuse me of lying. And to this day, that's the issue that I have. It's not about, he could have asked about the email in any other way, but he said, that was a whole lie. You said you weren't having a guest on. Do not call me a liar. Do not call me a liar on a show that's getting hundreds of thousands of views and then behind the scenes try to make up. If you want to talk about it, we should have talked about it on the show, or you should have apologized on the show. And then, I don't know, he went on to do his press run, and in almost every interview, it just kept coming up, you know? And
really?
Yeah, he talked to Flex about it. He did the Rap Radar thing because people would tag me in it. And then he would say...
He pretty much stuck to his guns.
And he would say the same
validated
thing. Right, and he would say, well... I think he kind of was like, well, I didn't mean to go there and attack her if it came off that way, which is cool. But then he keeps saying like, then I tried to hug it out and talk to her and she didn't want to have the conversation.
Oh, so he's exposing what happened behind the scenes.
But again, I don't want to talk to you behind the scenes after you try to embarrass me and call me a liar in front of everyone. Like, let's do it in front of everyone if we're going to do it. You know what I mean? I don't need to have a conversation with you behind the scenes. Yo, I have interviewed so many artists. I'm talking about legends, people I worship, the Pharrells of the world, like those people. Yeah. And for someone like Russ to be that disrespectful, I've never had an experience with an artist like that in 10 years. Never, not once. And so it is what it is. I wish him the best. He's a very talented guy, and I hope he does great in his career, and he's extremely successful. But no, I will not deal with someone calling me a liar. And no, we're not going to fucking hug it out afterwards. I'm sorry.
Very well said.
Yeah, no thanks.
You was about to say what? Got you fucked up.
Exactly.
I heard it coming out, girl. Like, no. This is the stage to just be Nadeska Alexis.
Thank you, God. Yeah, no, that was unbelievable.
That's very well said. Now, what can he do to make it right? Because it seems like does he want to apologize?
I honestly don't care.
Does he want to apologize? Did he apologize? Because you said don't do it behind the scenes, do it in front of the hundreds. So it seems, will it be better for you? And this reminds me of the whole Escape. Shout out to Candy. Are you a fan?
Yeah.
Of the whole Real Housewives and what's going down there with
that? That's the Atlanta one is my favorite.
Shout out to Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's mine too. And Beverly Hills, no shade. Beverly Hills probably more. But so with the members of the Escape, which is really the Escape show, which is a great show as well. You already know what happened, do you not?
I don't know how all the drama.
Well, her ex-members they're reunited. They accused her of breaking up the group because she slept with JD and she slept with everybody in the industry and slept with Jermaine Dupri's dad. Just outrageous claims. And that's what tore them apart when they were early on in their career, when they first broke up. And Candy insisted that you went on the radio and you said these things about me. I need you to publicly go on the radio again and say what you said back then was a lie. And she did that. And even though she did that, I don't think that was enough for Candy. That's what she wanted. That's what she asked for. And the girl that said that about her gave her that. And it still wasn't enough. So it feels like it's kind of similar.
Yeah. Okay. But look, for me, it's really not that deep. And that's the thing. And I know a lot of people are going to want to talk to me about it, but I don't like to harp on anything negative. So one, I just don't care about Russ. It's not that like, oh man, I really hate this person, whatever. I just genuinely don't care.
Were you a fan prior?
No.
Okay.
And so like to me, it matters none, to quote Joe Budden. So like if this was J. Cole and we had this incident, man, I would feel like shit. You're my favorite rapper. It would really be hurtful to a person that I love, whose music I listen to, whatever. To me, like, I never thought about Russ outside of any of those episodes, but it felt like he was harboring this thing. So look, if he did want to apologize one day, it's cool. If he never does, I don't care. Like, I never need to see Russ again. I never need to like have a conversation. I'm not harboring any ill will. There's like a line. Like, so with me and Joe and Ak, we joke around and whatever, and that's like family now. But like, no, I will not let anyone random just disrespect me. My mother would never stand for that. I don't care who you are. You could be the biggest rapper in the world. You're not going to disrespect me and then I'll be like, cool, let's just hug it out. Fuck out of here.
I admire your strength.
You know what I mean?
Now, I was reading the comments on that. Now, people always say, oh, she's emotional.
Yeah.
He said you was... Now, I understood why you was bothered by that. And I was upset at academics for kind of even... But it's kind of hard because we're women in this male-dominated industry.
But they're very emotional. Joe doesn't get emotional on the show. Like, these guys don't get emotional and react or whatever, but it's only a word that you say to a woman. You know what I mean? And of course, they killed me for that in the comments, all the teenage boys. This girl, she's so emotional. You're dumb, stupid feminist. That was another episode where for weeks they were spamming my Instagram. You're so sensitive and you're this and that. So it's like, it's so crazy. Like, a lot of it is... you can't necessarily always have your natural reaction because people read it so differently.
You can't.
You know what I mean?
And this is what I'm trying to tell you. For me as a viewer, that's what made you more likable, and that's what made you more relatable. Because when that happened, the way you responded showed us who you really are, and you're just a human being. But it's hard to detect that when you're not speaking as much, and these two are like overpowering, going back and forth, which is whatever, that's fine. But when you, I'm sure, felt attacked, right? You felt attacked. So it was like we resonated with that as women, as people. This isn't about women and versus man. It was really just us seeing you kind of for the first time responding to what happens in everyday life, right?
Yeah.
And
that's interesting. I never thought about it like that.
So I need you to know that
because you know there's the dynamic. So like I saw there's like a video that has like hundreds of thousands. Russ exposes Nadeska in everyday struggle. So I am always, another thing that the show has taught me, I am always baffled at how people watch the same video and how they see the complete opposite
of what you see.
Yeah.
And
know
what you, I mean? Well, actually what happened, because you're in the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy, like even posting the email and showing that what I said was actually what I said. I didn't say we're taking no guests. I said we're not entertaining too many. People are still like, she got exposed. So I'm glad that, if it felt like you saw a more human side of me.
And believe that there's more people probably feels the way I feel and feels the way you feel. It's just people like us in our sane minds and body and soul are trolling.
This makes sense.
No, seriously. Right. And I need you to know that because I'm like, damn, because we get so caught up in reading comments. We do. And sometimes we feel validated when the good outweighs the bad. And we feel fucked up when the bad outweighs the good.
Right.
And we kind of determine as to that is how the world feels. And it's not. Because watching that, I was like, and you got to understand the time that we're living in. And shout out to Jay-Z. He expressed this on his at his concert. We've always lived in a racist world. And I feel like it's more obvious, right? Mm-hmm. Because of who we have as our president. People feel more confident to show their face, their true colors. I feel even more so, like Jay said, we living in a more sexist world. So being a woman in power, being a woman in the forefront, it's more evident now that they just don't fucking get us. And they don't want to get us.
They don't want to get it.
Because they don't want, it's not that they don't want to, because they feel we have a place in this world.
And a lot of it is so subconscious, because I have conversations with Joe and Ak about this, right? Like it comes up behind the scenes, but like on some level, they just don't get it, and they never could. And I tell Joe that I wish she was having a girl, and that I hope that if him and Sin have more kids,
I thought that too.
That is a girl. That way too. And I feel like academics needs to have a girl, because there's just levels to it that they just don't understand. And I think that they never will. And they think I'm always being emotional and sensitive. But I'm like, especially in this year, when all these women are being brave enough to speak up about all the horrible shit that they go through in these terrible industries that we work in, it would be cool if, like, I know we're here for the jokes and all of it, but when I try to make a point, you don't randomly just call me a queen feminist. It's not even related to what I was talking about. Like, it's not good for all the kids who are watching, all the boys who are like 13 at home watching. This sort of stuff is not helpful for women in hip hop. It's already hard enough being in that space. Like, we have to move differently. Even the way I move with artists, back to when I was on Rap Fix, you know what I mean? The artists come in, you come kick it, you say what up, you could hang out after. I was always wary about those situations because, you know how guys are. Yeah. It's like if you're talking immediately, she must be trying to fuck, or she's a groupie, or she's something. And so it's weird. I think a lot of that I have internalized, and maybe that comes through on the show. A lot of people told me early I seemed really stuck up down to the way I sat. But to be honest, like, I just couldn't lean back. There's no back in the chair. I have to sit up straight. But I'm like, cool, if me sitting up straight makes you think I'm stuck up, whatever. But I think a lot of it is Joey Badass the other day. I saw him backstage at the Black show. He was like, oh my God. We were talking about something. He's like, I can't believe you would even drink or smoke or anything. You seem super straight edge. I'm like a normal person. I grew up in Flatbush. I went to high school in Brooklyn. I am very much a Brooklyn girl. I get into shit. Like, I can kick it, and my mom has always told me, as a woman and as a Black woman, you always have to work twice as hard and be smarter, and you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe I seem ultra composed on the show, but it's like I feel like I can't relax that the way the guys do. The standards are just different. But then if it comes off as stuck up, then I'm like, is it too much? It really is, I don't know.
It's just a constant, everyday struggle.
It really is.
As women, we are, especially in this industry, because we're being faced, like you said, with so much. You're a beautiful woman in this industry that's male-dominated, so it's natural for men to want to have this animalistic attraction to you, right? So I'm glad that you touched on what's happening in Hollywood, because that was my next question. Have you experienced any of that?
I haven't experienced any executives or any artists being aggressive towards me, and I'll say like I'm very grateful. Of course, they've hit on me, you know what I mean? There's situations where I feel like we're talking and I think this is a professional setting, but it's like, hey, can I get your number? Can I text you later? Or you know what I mean? That's like happened, and it is what it is. But I've been fortunate that no one has been like very aggressive with me, and I'm definitely grateful for that. But then again, I don't put myself in those situations. I'm very much like, I'm very low key. I'm a homebody. I'm working or I'm at home. I'm on my couch watching TV. I'm listening to my audiobooks. I'm not really like out much in the clubs. I'm not around rappers that much outside of work. So like I really try to remove myself from any spaces like that where things that are uncomfortable could happen.